Hey everybody, it's Nate Fay, and I'm one half of your host of Ben and Nate's Questions That We Ask People on the Internet. I've been a practicing licensed massage therapist as well as an osteopathic manual therapist for 18 years, and I make my home and practice here in Connecticut. And I want to welcome you guys to episode 3, and let's have our good friend Benji introduce himself.
My name is Ben. I've been a licensed massage therapist since 2003. And during that time, I've done everything from work as an employee to be an owner in a multi-therapist massage office. You know, I live here in the middle, what some people call flyover country, Nebraska. And I put a lot of value in investing in myself. So you'll see me at continuing education workshops across the country. I love to do that. I love to invest in my most valuable resource, and that's me. Nate, why don't you give them the disclaimer about our thoughts and opinions?
Absolutely. Disclaimer alert. The thoughts and opinions expressed by Ben and myself are of our own and not of any other company or business that we work for.
That's right. What we say is on us, and if you learn something, that's on you. And one of the goals for this show is we just want to have some fun, right? Because there's a lot of shows out there that are really serious, and we don't want to be so serious. Isn't that right, Nate?
No, we don't want to be serious at all. We want to be a little serious.
Which reminds me, I got a question for you, Nate.
I'm ready for it, buddy. It's your question of the week to me. I'm ready.
Ooh, yeah. Why are poker players good at doing laundry?
Ben, why are poker players good? I'm laughing already at doing laundry.
Because they know when to fold.
Yes. And that brings me to that's like the greatest trait of a massage therapist is folding fitted sheets. Right?
Oh, I tell you what, I don't know how you do it, but I try to time it so that when it comes out of the dryer, I don't have to fold it and it just goes back on the table.
Love it.
Yeah.
I hired out a laundry service a long time ago, and but if there comes a day where I have the practice space a little bit bigger of a practice space to have a washer and dryer, that would be another goal down the road for sure. So I have a question for you.
Oh boy, hit me.
What was the best thing that happened to you this past week?
The best thing that happened to me this week. There's a lot of good things that happened this week, but I'm going to pick one that's business and massage related. And I ordered these stocking caps that have my logo on it on the front, and they just came in, and right. I should have one to show you right now, but I don't. And they look really cool. So I'm going to give those out to some special people.
Yeah, I'd love to see those.
Yeah, I'll put a picture up.
Yeah, we'll put a picture up. I haven't done that great of a job in the last 18 years of making, t-shirts or anything for my office, but that's just like it's something on the plates. It's an iron in the fire, so to speak.
Yeah, it's one of those things, like it's more just promotion. I'm not selling it. It's just, one of those things. So cool. Tell me, tell me what's the best thing that's happened to you in the last week or so?
Well, let's see. We had a good weekend this weekend. I went to see an amazing band play on Friday night. There's a great venue in New Haven, Connecticut called College Street Music Hall. Amazing place to see live music. And one of my favorite bands from London is doing a tour here in the US, and I haven't seen them in 10 years. And I got to catch them Friday night in New Haven. They're called they're a British rock duo called Royal Blood, and I had an absolute blast seeing those two guys. What a show. So that was fun. And sounds if I can awesome. Pick two things, can I pick two?
You could pick three if you want.
Three. There was another amazing.
You're the co-host
this week. The co-host. I can do anything I want. I taught an amazing class. I went to the West Coast for a seminar. So it's my first time flying 3,000 miles that way to teach a course in San Francisco. And my good friend, Helen Hickman, hosted me out there at the San Francisco School of Massage. And we had an absolutely amazing weekend. San Francisco is just a happening city. and we had 30 eager licensed massage therapists. We had a couple physical therapists, and we had 2 nurses that were transitioning into a massage career. So super, super awesome, super successful. Looking forward to going back there in April. So we did a pretty quick turnaround to rebook that date. So
Wow,
I'm
that
excited
sounds
about that.
awesome.
Yeah, super awesome. So this show is called Ben and Nate's Questions That We Ask People on the Internet, episode 3. And this week's question was I posed back in August, and statistically we had 29 answers to this. And Ben, why don't you go ahead and read the question for us this week?
All right, so Nate wanted to know. Here's his question. I've witnessed a lot of moving in the right direction changes in the massage field over the past 18 years. What is one thing you feel needs to change or is holding back our field from moving forward? So, Nate, I want to ask you if there's anything in particular, any reason that you posed this question.
Yeah, I was dwelling a lot. It's an interesting place to be, right? You've been practicing for a long time, and I've been practicing for what I feel like is a long time as well, even though I can safely say I have a long way to go, right? And I was reflecting back at the beginning when I first became licensed in 2006, and how much things have changed. And we can think about this question in 2 ways, Ben. We can think about it for how things have changed for us personally in terms of growth and what we've seen, and then maybe how things have changed on a national level. And sometimes, being a massage therapist, we're in our own little bubble in our treatment room. And oftentimes the only way we get to interact with other massage therapists is at maybe events or continuing education courses. So I wanted to get a hit on what's going on in the world in terms of what other therapists felt has grown, but maybe what still perhaps we're behind on. Massage, interestingly enough, has been around, right, since the dawn of time. And, licensure for many states, didn't really start to come up. I know in Connecticut it was the early 90s, I think 1992. Don't quote me on that. I'll have to double check on that. And I know in other states, it's still something that's up and coming. Certainly from the start of my career to now, there's many more states that do have licensure. Education's changed a little bit. So like I said, I wanted to see what was going on in the world, and what people felt was perhaps we still needed some in our industry. We got a lot of great answers this week. What do you think about that, Ben?
Yeah, having you explain that, where personally and professionally how things have changed. I like how you pose that. That's I may have to rethink how I'm thinking about this whole answer, but
Yeah.
yeah, it's very interesting. So what, tell me, we had a lot of great responses. Was there one in particular that stood out to you? What one did you like?
This was a tough one this week, and I want them to be tough, right? I want the answers to sort of be tough, and I want them to make us think just as much as hopefully our readers and viewers are going to think as well. And I just want to go over, I'm going to just give a snapshot. Some people brought the franchise thing up. Some people felt like massage should be move in the direction of becoming, medically necessary, things like that. And there was one particular answer that, rang a good bell with me, struck a good chord with me. And this came from a gal named Irina. And she says that local regulations, laws for business licensure need reviewing and updating. And there's no need for yearly local police or records checked. And that answer hit home for me because this is something that I actually just experienced about a year ago in the state of Connecticut. And but let's talk about that in a little bit. Let's talk about what answer you looked into.
Oh yeah, well, one that stood out to me was basically the need for national standardized tiered licensing, and then the separation of therapeutic and medical massage from traditional relaxation work. I like that answer. I have some thoughts of my own on that because I don't completely agree with it, but it kind of that's just one that stood out to me.
Awesome. Yeah. Yeah. We had a lot of great insight with this one. It's interesting that I can think about when I first became a massage therapist. And like I said, back to that personal part, being in my own bubble. And I don't even think I would really have any male clients come to me, that stigma behind massage and massage therapy. And, several years into my career, I noticed a change with that. And so that was interestingly enough, that was a positive growth in the right direction, right? And so sort of that whole gender bias coming out of it. And I would like to think that it doesn't exist, but we know that it still probably exists in our field. And
So what you're talking about is a shift in what the general public sees massage therapy as
yeah,
more of a, maybe I'm going to use the word therapeutic versus something more along the lines of a massage parlor versus a massage clinic or office.
right,
Is that
right.
what I'm hearing from you?
Yeah, I think that's what, yeah, you're definitely hearing that, the public's perception of what we do. I think the public has, their education itself has grown tremendously. And, even moving forward, in the last maybe like 3 to 5 years of my career, and I see it, that sort of that team building I've done, in terms of like working with PTs and doctors and orthopedic doctors in my town, and having like a nice solid referral network. So I can certainly say I've personally have seen an acceptance of what I do, massage and manual therapy, accepted in the medical community. But I don't want to get too off track. I just want to talk about a personal, some pertinent personal witness that I've seen. But with the question that I chose, so state licensing in Connecticut, I believe it was 92 that the state had become licensed for massage therapists. And I know many states had, like archaic laws that had existed pre-licensing. And Connecticut, and some of it was town by town as well. So the town of Enfield, where I practice, had an archaic law. It was a massage parlor law. And basically, I had to have a massage parlor permit. That's what the application said. And it was a $125 fee. And I refused to pay it, right? It's the punk rock side of me. I refused to do it. And interestingly enough, 18 years of practicing in Enfield, the town of Enfield came knocking on my door one day and said, "Hey, you don't have this permit." And I'm like, "Well, right, I'm not a massage parlor, you know." And I had to go through this big thing with planning and zoning, and it was a little bit of a, I don't want to say it was a fight, because there was some great exchanges back and forth with the powers that be with the town. And eventually I got in touch with the mayor, and the mayor and I had some great conversations about, we know how much massage has changed, and we know that it's not what it used to be. And in fact, state licensing is the case. And by the way, some of the bullet points of this massage parlor permit were, I could only work till 5, right? Which is difficult as a massage therapist. Sometimes we have to see clients a little bit later. And I was subject to the police coming in my office at any time and opening my treatment room door. Now, we know that's not really going to happen, right? But that's what the law stated from 1967. So the town held a meeting back in April, one of their town council meetings, and this was on the docket to get dropped as a law. And I went and spoke to the, in front of the town, and they voted unanimously to drop that massage parlor permit law for licensed massage therapists. So it was a huge win. So, I mean, I could certainly encourage anybody listening, if that still exists in your town or your state, then, be the one to go talk to your town council and educate them and have them listen to you and get it changed. What do you think about that, Ben?
That's fantastic. It just makes me realize how different things are from state to state.
Yeah.
Where I practice, we don't have that. I think I may be wrong with this, but we have in Nebraska, we have needed to be licensed since probably the 50s or 60s. So we
That's a
have
long
we have a
time.
pretty good
Wow.
history of being
Yeah.
licensed. And then as far as the permit, we have a thing that's called establishment license.
Okay.
So,
Yeah.
you pay a fee to the state. I mean, it helps pay for certain things, but chiropractors have to do it, medical doctors, you have to have an establishment permit or establishment
Absolutely.
license to do practice out of an office.
Yeah. Which is, like you said, that part of it's normal versus the application that said massage parlor permit.
Yeah, and that's
Wild.
fantastic. I remember you sharing some information about that a while back that you had successfully I don't know how you I don't want to call it fought against, but worked with the government or
Yeah.
your local government to make a
Yeah.
change, and that's great.
Yeah, and I will say it was a work with them, and I think that and I think again for other therapists listening, if this exists in your town, that's the reason I chose that answer. So if the person that wrote in has this in their town as well or their state, I would encourage them to be the one to get that to change for sure.
And I'm also going to throw out there, if you don't know how to go about it, maybe reach out to Nate and he can give you some ideas on where you can go from that. Also, I'm going to just throw out a little um, advertisement for your local ABMP or AMTA chapters, because those are the people that really, I mean, in some states, they really help us out a lot. In some states, they don't
Yeah.
exist, but they can be really helpful.
Hmm. Absolutely. So why don't you open up the can of worms with the response that you like the most?
The can of worms. Let's see. Well, yeah, so I looked at it as far as the profession, how the profession has changed and what is holding us up. That's kind of the way that I looked at it.
Yeah.
And as we just talked about, every state is different, right?
Mhm.
And how nice would it be if every state had consistent licensing requirements, consistent schooling requirements. And I don't know about this the difference between a license for a medical massage, whatever that means, and traditional relaxation work. I think i think in order to get to some place like that, we need to have standardization across the country first before we move on to anything that separates different tiers of licensing. That's kind of where I see us. That's what we need. That's where I feel like we need to go to.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's an interesting thing because and do you think we're going to see it in our lifetime?
I've been
That's the
hearing,
question I always ask.
yeah, I've been hearing for the last 10 to 15 years that massage is going to be accepted by insurance in the next 10 to 15 years. So I've been hearing this for the 10 to 15 years. And I know being accepted by insurance is different than having standardization across the country. But I think that's a step closer to being able to get accepted by insurance. And I'm just going to throw this out. I was listening to the one of the former past presidents of the Massage Therapy Foundation. Doug Nelson was talking about this conference he was at, and this was a few years ago, so details are a little fuzzy, so I'm going to paraphrase. But basically, he was at this conference with a lot of the bigwigs of the insurance industry. So the C-suites people, the CEOs, CFOs, all those people. And basically, low back pain costs the economy billions of dollars, and they are ready. They are ready for massage to jump on board. It's just we're not ready. We're shooting ourselves in the foot because we don't have standardization across the country to be able to jump on board with them.
Right. It's an interesting thing, and one of my favorite statistics, by the way, Ben, is 80% of the population at some points can experience low back pain at some point. But that stuff aside, that's your fact for today. And Yeah, it's an interesting thing because I also asked the question, do we want insurance? Do we want that? That's a whole nother can of worms. I always say that one of the things that we have as massage therapists is time with people. Could insurance cover that time? Will they cover that time? Or will we be reduced to 15-minute increments? But that's a whole nother conversation, and that's a bigger conversation to have. But standardization across the board and across the country would be a step in the right direction either way.
Nate, is there anything that you wanted to add about what you talked about previously? Why you picked the answer that you picked?
Well, the biggest thing is I want therapists to, sort of be empowered. I was a one-man show taking on what I took on here in Connecticut to work with my local government. And I want therapists to know that it's a little bit easier than they think to coordinate with somebody and make friends and work with them if you want to see those changes in your own state. And sort of diving off of that for a minute too, because a lot of people did talk about what you went into, which was, the medical necessity and us being more accepted. And, it's like growing your practice and how you want to grow it, which is, I've always said, one client at a time, right? So how about one relationship at a time? It's easy to show up at a PT's office and a doctor's office and drop off cards, but it's a better thing, right, to perhaps ask a client, who have you seen before for low back pain? And maybe maybe they went to their PCP the first time around, or maybe they went to an orthopedic doctor. And I've built those relationships where clients have said to me, I do have a follow-up, but you've helped me out. Should I still go see the doc? And I say, yeah, you should. You definitely should. Let them know that you got helped. Let them know, and let them know who helped you. And that can create those alliances, and you can make yourself medically necessary. Absolutely.
You make a great point, Nate. And it almost seems like the past 20, 30, 40 years, the profession has been evolving, and we have laid the groundwork, so to speak, for gaining more credibility as a profession. You reaching out to PTs and medical doctors and all that. And I do the same thing. I talk to chiropractors, I talk to PTs, I say, how can we work on this person together to help them the best? But I want to bring up something and think about something for the future too. Think about if massage therapy, the schooling, was regularly found in places of higher education. So 2 and 4 year universities, where massage therapists are sitting right next to physical therapists, nurses, other healthcare practitioners, where they're learning physiology, pathology, kinesiology, all of that right next to all of those professionals. Think about when they go out into their professions and their fields, they're already going to know, hey, I went to class with these massage therapists. I know they have a base knowledge of this, and that's only going to help to increase our credibility more in the future. And I think that's something that could be helpful, getting schools, more mainstream in places of higher education. What do you think about that?
And guess who's doing that?
Why don't you tell me who's doing that?
I didn't know you were going to talk about that. And our good friend Charlie Peoples is doing that at Indiana State University. And he's introduced our good friend Eric Dalton's myoskeletal alignment technique program. He's made that a degree there as part of their studies, right alongside with a lot of those folks that you mentioned. And that's another thing, for you folks that want to get out there and make that change, do the same thing. Go work with your local massage school and educate them and have a plan and know to get in there and start talking to people. Or maybe it's your community college or something along those lines as well. Definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Nate, I want to ask you, are there any other things you wanted to talk about regarding this question? Any takeaways that you got from reading all of the responses that people sent, which were a lot of great responses?
Yeah, a lot of great responses. And, I think people were, in their own words, right on par with, wanting to be, wanting more acceptance in our field. And I think we covered on those two topics. And I don't know if we should dive too deep into this. A few people brought up the franchise thing, massage therapy franchises as potentially, maybe not being good for our industry, but I don't want to open up that can of worms, but we didn't have that. I didn't have that coming out of school. You didn't have that coming out of school. And not knowing too much about it, particularly how I started, I feel like that's something I would have wanted, where I could go get a job, go get my hands on a lot of bodies, have a lot of interactions, and hone my skills versus, flying by the seat of my pants. So I'm not necessarily sure if that's a hold us back thing or not. I think it's probably a great avenue, perhaps, to kickstart somebody's career. What do you think about that?
Yeah, and I've definitely I've heard good and bad. Had something like that been around for me, I probably would have pursued it. I most likely would have pursued it.
Me too. Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, I think this was a good discussion this week. And so, by the way, I only posted 3 questions to bring us to this point. So here we are. We've gotten to the end of our 3rd episode. So now we're going to start looking out for new questions starting next week. So if you have a question, Ben, what can they do?
Hey, if you want to interact with us, you got to look up Nate on his internet, which would be his Facebook page. And he's going to throw out questions there. He'll probably put some questions out on his Instagram too, to lead you to his Facebook page. But right now, we're sticking just with Facebook. So let us know. Give us your feedback. I mean, this show isn't going to happen without you guys. And so far, it's been going awesome.
Absolutely. We've had over 9,400,000 views.
Holy cow.
Do you even know that was a number until we did this podcast?
I mean, I got 10 fingers. That's
it, man. So yeah, look out for that. I'm going to actually post a question coming up this week, probably after this or before this episode's been out there. And if you have a question, feel free to private message us. And if you have some thoughts about our show, same thing. And we'll see you guys next time.
Thanks for watching.
Thanks for being here. See ya.